Hello, this is Keza from Kotaku. I'm here with Mr. Nathan Grayson from Kotaku also.
Hello.
We both played about, 3-4 hours of The Witcher 3 in the last couple weeks. Yep. So, Nathan, what did you think of The Witcher 3?
Overall, I thought it was really, it was good. It was just, it felt very much like a, open world RPG fantasy setup. I mean, I guess that's what I was expecting, but...
It's pretty though, isn't it?
It's really pretty.
I gotta say, when we saw a little bit of the Skellige Mountains there, which is the sort of Scotland, Scandinavia setting, and then you move into this place, which looks kind of brown and boring until you see it at sunset or sunrise.
Yeah, definitely.
And suddenly the lighting is just incredible.
Also, look at this hair. Look at all of their hair. Look at the griffin.
The feathers.
The hair is, and the feathers are it's crazy.
And the blood, oh man. Faces are really good as well, like the creases on Geralt's face. And there's a bit later on that might come up where you enter an inn and you're talking to people and there's just such tension in the air. The setting for Witcher 3, we should mention, it's kind of, think War of the Five Kings, Game of Thrones. So everything is in war, soldiers are wandering around just raping people and stealing stuff like they own the place.
Yeah, and there's the whole wild hunt thing, which is a bunch of hunters that are roving the land.
Yeah, like supernatural ghost ship hunters, basically, who just turn up and ravage everything.
And his ghost Zeppelin.
Yeah, who just ravage everything even more if the war hadn't already ruined everything.
Yeah.
And then there's all these monsters that are there's more and more monsters than there used to be, which is why Geralt's kind of basically helping people out by killing them, which is kind of his job.
Yep.
Oh, and he didn't do so much of it in the previous Witchers, really. So much of his job of killing animals.
Well, it wasn't strictly his job. I mean, he would sort of wander into doing it. But yeah, and then so there's also a lot of this one's open world, unlike previous Witchers, and that's very apparent here, where you're roving around on horseback and stuff, which you can just sort of do whenever you want. And one of the things that I appreciated a lot that was kind of finicky is that you can autopilot your horse. If you just get on a path, you can hold a button and your horse will just go. Which
it's much more useful than it sounds.
Yeah.
I mean, your horse doesn't do that thing where it follows a marker or anything, but it just follows the path that's on the ground, so you can kind of direct it now and then when you need to go off a fork in the road or something.
Which, makes sense. I mean, horses do have brains and all that.
They're able to follow paths.
Yeah.
So as you can see, there's a lot of tension in this inn scenario right here. Oh, it's gone away. Well, there was a lot of tension in that inn scenario briefly. Right there.
There's also tension here with these guards. The game just has a lot of tension. Everyone should just make
Everyone's really unhappy all the time in The Witcher. People do make out sometimes, though. There's definitely there's a bunch of sex in it. And I've got to say, The Witcher had some of the most terrible sex in video games in the first Witcher game.
Well, yeah, with the sex cards.
Yeah, with the
embarrassing.
freaking sex memento trading cards, they were awful. But Witcher 2 did a better job, I think. And Witcher 3 opens with a moment that actually seems reminiscent of genuine human tenderness, which I thought was really impressive. So progress.
Actually, in that opening moment, after they've pretty clearly had sex and stuff, and Geralt has to go take care of his witcherly responsibilities at Witcher School, you can go back over and talk to her again, to Yennefer.
Mm-hmm. And that's Geralt's lover at the beginning of the game, by the way. She features heavily in The Witcher 3.
I went with saying, we could do it again. I don't have to do stuff
Stay
today.
in bed all day. Yeah.
And she's like, you go deal with stuff, and then maybe. And I was like, all right, that's a fair response.
But yeah, I think because The Witcher 3 is like all of The Witcher, is low fantasy, not high fantasy. So everything's grimy, violent. There's lots of awful stuff. There's a lot of racism. There's a lot of war. There's a lot of sexism as well in the world. It's not an easy place to be for people. I find that really refreshing because it's not like you're the hero of the world. The world is kind of completely indifferent to Geralt.
Not at all.
Geralt's just there,
But I do that's the other thing that I like, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier. I think the way that the game handles morality, and that like you were saying, Geralt's not some big hero. He's kind of an asshole himself. But you can play him in ways that sort of pivot. You can be Geralt, a guy who will do what needs to be done to make stuff happen, but not as much of a jerk about it.
Yeah, and it's not like that pathetic binary morality that doesn't patronize you, but going, you did the good thing, well done. You can do either thing in The Witcher, and it's not even clear sometimes if there even is a good option, a better option. Yeah. You're usually choosing, for instance, in one of the subquests that we played, there's this dwarf, and his forge has been burnt down, and you can go find the kid who did it, right? Mm-hmm. And if you find the kid, you can either take a bribe from him to keep quiet, and you're like, oh well, that's obviously the bad option. Or you can hand him over to the authorities, who then hang him. And it's like,
I thought they cut his head off.
Yeah, well, they kill him.
Yeah, but they very definitively kill him. Yeah, so and it was the thing where I actually saw someone complaining a little bit about that in their write-up, because they're like, oh, that's not what I wanted at all, and like I couldn't stop them from killing him.
It was like, well, that's just what goes down in this world, unfortunately. That's just kind of how things are. This is a different area here, the coastal area. The Witcher 3's map is enormous.
Yep.
Ridiculously big, and all the areas do have their own visual character.
No, and apparently because I only played that starting area, and I guess that's the smallest area in the game, and I don't even think that I saw like a fraction of it.
While we're doing some combat, let's talk about combat a little bit.
Combat was it's all right.
I think it's some of the best sword combat in games, actually. Like, it's not quite Dark Souls, but I really like the flow of it, the kind of countering. I mean, the fact that it's not just, and the fact that when you're fighting things, they don't just all wait.
I like that on paper, but in terms of actually, like, in practice, it just didn't, I couldn't get a hold of the feel of it. And maybe that's just because I didn't play enough of it. But, I don't know, it just didn't feel as, like, instantly gratifying as other combat. Or rather, it didn't feel natural.
Oh, that's interesting. I thought it was probably because I'm just so used to The Witcher 2. I played The Witcher 2 quite recently.
But that probably definitely.
Yeah, but coming to it for something like Dark Souls or whatever, it takes a bit of a. I still don't think it has the weight of like a Monster Hunter or a Dark Souls. It doesn't have the like that feeling of you just life or death in every swipe of the sword. Yeah, it doesn't quite have that. I like Geralt's beard in this scene. Look how fuzzy he is.
I like Geralt's beard in every scene. Like, just all of the hair. Again, like, the hair in this game is so good.
It's the generation of hair.
Also, like, everyone, this is Nathan Grayson playing the part of Kirk Hamilton in this particular segment. Hair. They've got great hair.
So the point of the first section of the game that we played was basically to stalk and kill a griffin. And what I found intriguing about that was that all the quests were kind of normal and boring. Like, go here, fetch that, see this person. But stuff just kept happening on the way there that drew me totally off the path, and I ended up spending an hour getting a herb, which I think is what an open world game needs, really, right?
And what I liked about that was that a lot of the stuff that drew me off that main track didn't feel really fillery. Like, for instance, in Dragon Age, not that I don't enjoy doing those quests, but they're very transparently fillery. It's just like, go kill this thing for whatever reason, it doesn't matter, and you're not really gonna, like, feel anything from doing that. It's not gonna be, like, this emotional moment for you. In The Witcher, like, I felt like by going off that main path, I met some really cool characters, and like each of those little mini quests that I did felt like its own self-contained story.
Yeah, you can trust interesting things to happen, which I think is vital for open world games.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think that I met the most interesting characters that I encountered in that demo doing that, and not with the main thing. The main thing was all right, but you know, it was pretty predictable. Like, there's a monster terrorizing the village.
Oh yes,
go
please
stop
help
the monster.
Although,
because
you know,
it's bad.
I feel like it did build anticipation, because before you can go on any of the big hunts with the proper monsters, you have to stalk them. So you have to like find a way to trap them, and you have to find their lair and all that kind of jazz. And it does build a natural sense of anticipation for the big fight at the end. What we're seeing here is obviously a montage of some later stuff. I like that badass stag thing. I can't wait to fight that. I'm a big Monster Hunter fan, so all the hunting stuff in Witcher 3 is very much pushing my buttons.
Yeah, it's kind of reminiscent of it. Yeah. I wonder if they like really, in fact, I'm upset at myself for not asking them that directly. Like, did you just play a bunch of Monster Hunter and say, this is neat?
I asked them that at E3. They were like, no direct game influences our processes, which is what developers always say
but
when you ask them anything.
Weird how adamant
this is the Wild Hunt, by the way. Yeah, they were super adamant.
I asked like their gameplay director about Dragon Age comparisons, and he was like, no, and in fact, until our game is out, I refuse to play that game because I don't want it seeping into our game.
Yeah.
I don't want to accidentally say, oh, we need this because it was in Dragon Age, which is understandable, but it's also like that's one way to not learn from other people's mistakes.
Overall, though, I'm feeling optimistic. It was good. It's incredibly pretty. I think I'm probably just going to live in The Witcher 3 for a week or so.
Yeah, it was a game where, okay, so like I said in my write-up, when I first came away from it, I was like, that was good, but I'm not just like stunned by it. But then the next day I was like, I got to play more Witcher.
Exactly. I really felt the urge.
I had to reinstall Witcher 2 and like just start playing that again. That's how much I was apparently into it, without really consciously being aware of it.
Yeah, I think it's something you
something
you have to sink into as well. Like, a few hours with a game like this is just enough to get a flavor. Like, it's not enough to, to really feel like you're a part of it.
You can't fall in love with it at that point, but some part of me wanted to, so
Yes.
I like sought out more Witcher stuff, which I was really telling.
Loving the monster design as well, like proper dark, nasty stuff.
Yeah, it's nuts.
So that's The Witcher 3. It's out, as it says there, May 19th. And obviously, have
And
a look
there's a
at...
crow
There's
flying
a
through a
crow
guy's
through
face.
Have
There
a
you
look.
go.
Have a look at Kotaku.com for much more on this game.